Hello and welcome to Virtual Concert Hall's live music channel. My name is Chris Au and I'll be your host for today's show. Today's program is going to be revolving around my review of an interview I did with concert violinist Emil Chudnovsky, who I will introduce very shortly. He is going to be our guest judge and an incredible artist for all of you musicians to get to know during this oncoming 2023-2024 season. And we are really proud of this season because we, as a mission on our organization, we aim to connect musicians and audiences in real-time musical performances and live programs from around the globe. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to Virtual Concert Hall's live music channel. My name is Chris Au and I'll be your host today, and we present an incredible, amazing, fantastic season ahead. I can't believe we have all these performances and opportunities for musicians to be a part of. It is just incredible how we've grown over the many years, well, the few years actually, that we've actually been doing this show. We present today in detail some things we have in store. We want to show you the season we have ahead, and I want to thank you for joining us. And for those who are watching, we want you to watch on because we have a really good interview that I did previously with an incredible concert violinist, Emil Chudnovsky, and he gave some incredible insights for musicians on how to prepare for competitions, the differences between violin and piano repertoire and a performing career, as well as little tips on how to prepare for concerts versus competitions, and his background as a violinist with a long historical history as a musical family. We are warming up to some amazing interviews we'll be doing with guest artists, performers, judges, and music promoters. And we want to do this by showing you some interviews we did previously. And today we want to highlight the amazing violinist and pedagogue Emil Chudnovsky. We will also show you some performances from our previous seasons and tell you how to apply and a glimpse of what this competition and live auditions will look like throughout these interviews and throughout this series that we're doing. Every day at 12 noon, we're doing a show just for you. All right, we're recording this live. All of this is live. Nothing is pre-recorded except for the interview that I'll show you and some of the performances we want to highlight from last season. And speaking of this coming season, we're going to show you a promo clip that we created that shows you what we have in store. So as you can see, we have an incredible season ahead, and we encourage you to join us. We have people from all over the world applying to our competition who have the goal of sharing their art, sharing their music, and this is no better place, especially when we have prestigious venues like the Carnegie Hall for you to perform in. Right? We blend a hybrid model of live online auditions where you can get immediate feedback from judges. We blend that as well as different prizes throughout the season with in-person prestigious venues where you get to perform solo, as a duo, as an ensemble, as a vocalist, and with orchestra. And one more extra thing is composers. We also encourage composers to send in their scores because we have performers who would love to play your music. And so we include everyone. We want everyone to be a part of our season because this is a chance for us to get to know you as musicians, to share your art, but also we would love to hear you because everyone has a voice. Everyone has a unique way of sharing their music and to tell their stories. And with that, speaking of stories, I have to tell you about Emil Chudnovsky, my guest for today, with whom the interview I'm going to share with you I did 2 years ago. We did an amazing show 2 years ago where I interviewed him about the Beethoven Violin Concerto he was about to perform, and he played a little cadenza, but he also talked to me about violin piano repertoire. We talked about competitions and how he prepared for competitions and how he's preparing for his concerts now as a working performing musician who also has a family and a household and bills to pay. So Emil Chudnovsky was born on May 12, 1970 in Moscow. He began his musical studies at the Mannes College of Music in New York, and then he continued to study in Juilliard and the Manhattan School of Music, and also in the University of Yale. He held concerts from the big age of 11, and his performance was broadcasted by the Uruguayan National Television. He won the first prize at the Curci 11th International Violin Competition in 1991, and also the Young Artist of the National Federation of Music Clubs in 1993, and he was fifth at the Premio Paganini in 1999, and also at the Szeryng International Violin Competition in the 2000. He got the fourth prize in the Enescu International Violin Competition in 2001, during which he was awarded the special prizes as well. He co-founded the Three Violinists group in 1998, comprising of himself, Andrei Haveron, and Florin Croitoru from Romania, and they tour all over the world. And he himself performs all over the US and is an incredible pedagogue. He's a great communicator who we've had on. And so if you're a violinist, string player, someone who's interested in knowing a perspective from a string player, please apply because you get to play for someone like Emil Chudnovsky and you get to hear his feedback, which I can tell you from just the interview with him is invaluable, right? And so with that, I want to show you a clip of him because what better else than to just show him talking about music? And this is when he discusses differences between a violin and a violinist having a career and a piano/pianist career, which is vastly and sometimes different. So enjoy the clip. Oh, it's almost impossible in my mind to wrap around because I have two hands. I'm a pianist, and I feel like I can play one theme on one hand and another theme on another one. But you have to fit all that within, four fingers. Yeah, exactly, four fingers.
You don't even get one hand.
And four strings. Four fingers, four strings. We have 88 keys, two hands.
It's one of the things that I suspect is the cause for. I don't know if you've noticed this, but many competitions, violin competitions, trend younger. Violin competition winners tend to cluster around between ages 16 and like 22. By contrast, piano competition winners tend to cluster around ages 27 to 30.
Yeah. Why is that?
Here's my theory. You please tell me if you think I'm wrong. I think that once you've reached a certain level of piano ability, once you can just basically play the piano, you or Horowitz are doing the same notes. So what is it that makes Horowitz something that is beyond, other pianists? What is it that makes a certain pianist a legend? And I think it is an understanding of music, a deeper understanding of music that other instrumentalists don't really need to concern themselves with. For one of my great friends from college, a tenor, he said, for me, when I sing a concert, it's very easy. I just have to come in. I have to sort of towards the end lay my high C on the table and hold out my palm for the check.
Yeah.
And for you poor slob, you have to do the left hand pizzicato and the double harmonics and the this and that. For piano, you don't have all these different sort of show-offy techniques. So what do? You have a complete understanding of the score. You have to have a complete understanding of the score at the level of an orchestral conductor. And I think that takes an actual chronological maturity and a musical maturity that is almost impossible to attain when you're 16 or 17.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about the maturity, and it's also amassing material. And what I find fascinating about this music, and Rachmaninoff also echoes this, is that the more you know, the more you find out you don't know. And so
Yes.
when you get told to get given an opportunity to play a Mozart concerto, suddenly you're thinking, oh, what about performance practice? What about my own cadenza? Should I write that? Or what about this? Am I using this sound right? Oh, this piano is really big. Mozart would never use this. How do I play it differently? There's all these other things that swirl around you other than just playing the notes.
And for piano, it becomes apparent when you are not aware of all the different things that are happening, all the layers that are happening. You're sort of like the lighter. I don't forget the name of the person in a stage crew who shines the light on whatever a character needs to be brought out. But a clueless lighting guy is going to have the spot going any which way, right?
Yeah.
Similar to a pianist who just plays a bunch of notes, 10 fingers all at once, and all of them are equally important. Of course, they're not.
Yeah, and I think it's similar with violin playing too. And what I like about violin is sometimes you actually get to lead the orchestra. Like there's conductorless performances of concerti, and you have to lead them. And so you're conducting, and pianists also tend to do that too, because I guess they were traditionally doing that.
You would do that maybe for a Mozart concerto, but I would genuflect before you if you had the courage to do that for Rachmaninoff too.
Yeah, that's true. Not many people do. I think there's probably one or two who have done it in the past.
Really?
It's possible. Yeah, I think at least with Brahms' second, the Brahms second concerto, I think Daniel Barenboim just did it, with and played. But Daniel Barenboim is a piece of work. He's just one
like
in a million.
Bernstein.
Yeah.
We're talking about the whole package in one human, right?
Absolutely. Well, I guess from that you can see very well already how knowledgeable Emil is, as well as how communicative he is, and how easygoing he is. So he's going to be one of our judges this coming season, and I would really encourage anyone to not only apply but to tune in for exclusive interviews that we're going to be doing with him as well during this season to introduce him and to have him speak, because I think he has so much wisdom to offer, and he has a lot of great stories too, which you'll hear later on. It's incredible, and he was just talking to us about how different it is to be a violinist versus a pianist, and how much the level of preparation is different, what kind of money you're given to play these things. And it's a very interesting observation that he has, because as a violinist, you can pretty much learn a lot of the concerti rep pretty early in your life, and you can just recycle those. But as a pianist, there's so many other pieces of music to learn, whether you're playing concerti, whether you're playing chamber music, whether you're playing solo, whether you're playing other collaborative pieces of music. And there's new music and so much music written for piano that what ends up happening is a pianist has to work so hard to keep up with all these different types of repertoire out there, and there's new music being written. And violinists, other string players, and other woodwind players have different struggles and different parts of the careers they have to work towards, but it's a different trajectory. We have amazing pianists like Martha Argerich, who's still performing at, past the age of 80. And we had people like Menachem Pressler, who was performing at the age of 90 in big world stages. So the career of a pianist tends to be longer because you accumulate a lot more wisdom, experience, knowledge of the score, and time with these pieces of music, which I'm not saying violinists and other instruments don't do that, but we have a different breadth of the score we need to understand and come to know. And it's just a really wonderful way to explore the differences that we have, but also the similarities, which is this artistic goal of sharing music, storytelling, giving meaning to life, and to share art that helps us understand the world that we live in better, human condition, etc. And so and speaking of all that, I was talking to some ballet dancers over the weekend about their careers, and it's incredible that they can start to have a career as early as maybe 13 or 14, but by the age of 30, a lot of that is done. Then they have to think of other things that they will do that will help them earn money, what are they going to do next? And so even amongst other artists, there are different timelines for our art to develop and to grow. I imagine if you're a writer and an author of books, again, your kind of way of your planning your career and what you can win and what you can do is going to be different. So it's amazing to compare, and Emil is just so knowledgeable about all of these things. I want to focus on the next topic, which is how important is it to win a competition? You know, we do all these kind of auditions and competitions within Sound Espressivo, progressive musicians, etc. But how important is it? And I'm going to show a clip about where Emil discusses this and talks about it in great depth. A question I want to ask you that I feel that'd be really useful to our audience, and that is that winning this competition and winning all these other ones, what has that done for your career? Do you feel like in hindsight that, because I think at a young age, we all think competition and winning them, it's like so important. Like that's all we do, you know, at conservatory we're talking about what competition you're doing next, you know, have you won anything, all that. And it's just become so big. In hindsight, what do you think about competitions and how has it contributed to your career, or has it not really contributed?
I think competitions give you some sort of credentials, but none of my competition wins, I feel, did something for my career in the sense of, you know, that one performance opportunity that opened a whole bunch of doors. Whatever doors get opened sort of by happenstance and serendipity. I think that there are, for violin at least, 2 or 3 competitions left in the world that can make a career. And even those would be the Indianapolis, the Queen Elizabeth in Brussels, and the Tchaikovsky. And even those, you know, top tier competitions, there are plenty of winners whom no one's, you know, remembering now. People who play no worse than the people who won 4 years before them or 4 years after, but for whatever reason the stars didn't align. And that's for the top tier competitions. By last count, there are over 103 international competitions in the world. There's no way that there's going to be 103 new stars every year. So in that sense, I don't think that you're absolutely right. In conservatory days, we're all sort of competition oriented. And we have this feeling that, you know, it's going to be like the Oscars. You're going to get the prize awarded to you, and people will be banging on your door in the middle of the night offering you recording contracts. No, they won't.
Yeah.
But without the competitions to prepare for, without the forced self-examination of playing against, you know, the best and brightest from around the world, you have a very difficult time getting a sense of what is and isn't okay. What kind of errors are normal? What kind of development is, you know, above par, below par? You do need some sort of context in order to maintain your growth as you stop being a kid, stop being a student, and start being a young artist. So for that, I'm going to forever be grateful to competitions. They kept me practicing. They forced me to learn some repertoire that I might not have otherwise learned. They forced me to re-examine my playing in terms of what am I listening for. And of course, they introduced me to some people that I'm still fortunate to count as friends decades later.
So Emil highlights something that's quite important about competitions, which I think is sometimes lost in the translation, where we are applying to a whole bunch and we're working so hard to try and win. And that is that competitions allow us to make friends and connections and get us in a different mode of being, so that we're realizing our dreams of performing on a big stage. And what's amazing about that is that these things will lead to one another. I always tell my friends, and I tell a lot of people this, that when you go to competitions, make sure you stick around afterwards. Even if you get kicked out, it's okay. Stick around and listen to other rounds and go and meet some of these people, make friends, and just get to know people, because you don't know what you might encounter. You may encounter people who have amazing teachers that you've never heard of, and they could give you recommendation. You could go study with them. Right? And there are so many things that you could do as a musician in a competition. And he's just highlighting that although a competition doesn't guarantee you a career, it can help you make friends. It helps you prepare for high pressure situations, and you know how best to prepare for yourself, because everybody has a different way of preparation. There are certain guidelines and principles to follow, but there are many different things that affect us. Maybe it's whether we eat or not, whether it's how well we should sleep, or how should we prepare the day of, what should we eat, all these little routines that we may need to come up with in order to prepare. And this, like, competitions and performances and galas and auditions are a great way to prepare for these things. So I want to highlight that for sure, and also introduce you to the next part, which is how to prepare for competitions and concerts. And Emil, in this interview that I'm playing for you, was preparing for a performance with the orchestra. He's playing the Beethoven Violin Concerto, an incredible piece, and he's talking about how he prepares for competitions versus how he's preparing for the concert now as a working man with a family and kids and everything. So enjoy this clip, and I hope that it gives you some insight to what it's like to prepare. I want to highlight the one word prepare, which is something I want to ask you about next, which is it actually helps you feel like have something to prepare for. Yes. And it gives you certain goals to prepare for, so that you realize, no, in order to play something at the best level I can on this stage, I need these tasks. I need to plan well. I need to be organized. I need to make sure that I have all the rep ready, a week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I'm already playing for everybody so that it's so comfortable. So I want to also ask you about, as you're preparing for this, a concert, hopefully it's not as nerve-wracking as having to replace your mother or, for a competition. What have you been doing in terms of preparation? Could you share some of your own tips, or perhaps what you would tell students as they're preparing for a competition?
Well, the preparation for a concert versus a competition is also different because of the times of your life that you are, probably doing the one or the other. Right now, for example, in preparing for a concert on Saturday, I'm a father of 4. I have triplet boys who are 7 years old, and their younger sister who is 4. And to ask my wife to deal with all of that by herself, I think the Geneva Convention prohibits it. So, yeah. I do have to participate in running a household. Similarly, when I'm a student, I don't have to worry about pulling in this amount of income per month, or else, I'm going to lose my house, my car, whatever. So there are the realities of everyday life when you're preparing for concerts, but the trade-off is presumably you've already, as the mafiosi say, you've already made your bones, you've already, made your first kill. So you are not in need of the same kind of let's lock myself up in a room and practice 12 hours a day kind of approach. Yeah. As far as preparing for a competition, I had a both advantage and disadvantage in that my mother was a competition laureate of 3 of the biggest, the Jacques Thibault, Marguerite Long Jacques Thibault in Paris, the Tchaikovsky competition in Moscow, and the George Enescu in Bucharest. So she would tell me how in the height of the Cold War, when Soviet musicians were not just tasked with going and playing well, they were tasked with their country's honor. Yeah. How they were prepared. And it was no joke. So, first of all, by a month or 2 before the competition, all of the repertoire is learned. If you are still learning repertoire a month before, according to the Soviet idea, you're not going. Yeah. Right? Secondly, by about a month before, you are performing the repertoire that you have learned. It has had time to be learned, to become second nature, to feel familiar to you, and now you go out and you start performing. And in the Soviet Union, for all of its many horrors, the fact that the state interfered in musicians' lives meant that, for my mother at least, she would be given a concert tour where the entirety of the program would be played repeatedly. Can you imagine what it would be like to walk out onto an international competition stage knowing that you've just played the Brahms Second Piano Concerto 5 times in the last 2 weeks?
Yeah. The level of confidence, the level of familiarity. You're like, I know where the tricky spots are. I know where I can just relax. I know.
Well, you're telling a story that you know intimately. Think of a joke that you like to tell friends. The first time that you tell it, you're probably going to change some word order. You might change a detail, an adjective somewhere. But you know the joke, you know the gist of it, so you can manipulate it. For people like me who like to cook, think of a recipe that you know intimately well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I can make a risotto with peppers, but I can also make a risotto with mushrooms.
Yeah.
Risotto, right?
Yeah.
Brahms concerto. This orchestra just, is taking a slower tempo. I'm not flummoxed,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
When I started preparing for my competition wanderings, I did a total of I got prizes at a total of 9 competitions. I did more than that. But when I started competing in such a way that I started actually making the final round consistently, what changed was that I called them giglets. I would do outreach performances at retirement communities, at schools. I would run my program in the run up to the competition. The difference was that when I'm playing in a retirement community and I don't give it my all, odds are no one's going to come and yell at me.
Yeah.
But for people like my mother and for her generation, even for a subsequent generation, they when they were playing somewhere in a godforsaken spot in the midst of the tundra, they still had to give it their all.
Yeah. It's just great insight from Emil Chudnovsky about preparation. What was really insightful for me was the kind of preparation need to happen a month or two before the competition. You already have all the repertoire learned, and I think that's a really good reminder for a lot of musicians out there who are applying for things last minute, and they realize they have all these repertoire, all these pieces that need to learn, and then they cram, and then they go into a competition with big hopes but not fully confident, not fully knowing the music, not fully comfortable with the music, and to have everything to have everything prepared a month before, and then to perform all that repertoire the month before the competition. So by the time you get there, you need to practice, you need to warm up, but it's not quite so nerve-wracking. And I think that's a huge piece of advice for not just people doing competitions, but also perhaps if you're doing a really important performance that's coming up. And this leads me to, you're going to perform in Carnegie this season. If you want to do that, make sure you prepare very well and apply. www.soundespressivocompetition.com or progressivemusicians.com or www.choreorchestra.com if you want to perform with orchestra. We really have a great season ahead. We've got all these things prepared with collaborations with different orchestras, as well as Carnegie Hall and all these other music promoters who are going to listen, are going to be part of the judging panel and want to give you opportunities out there. They want to hear you share your music. We have live auditions at the end of October, and so we would encourage everyone to submit their application by October 1st so that you can be a part of a live audition round. And then the Carnegie First Gala is going to be in mid-November. So these are the sort of the timelines, and you're going to be performing in November 21st, and you need to make sure you've learned everything by October 21st. And then so you have a month to prepare and play a little giglets, as Emil Chudnovsky says, and then you go out and perform Carnegie and play your heart out, and you have it recorded, you have a recording of it, and as Emil says, you're telling a story that you know intimately. And I love that because music is about telling a story. Music is definitely a sonata in itself is sort of like a hero's journey. Rondo form, you're telling different stories, but you're always coming back home and going out again. Little pieces and preludes are a story a little encapsulated in like a few minutes, like perhaps a little poem within a minute or two. So this is really incredible that we get to do this in our art form, and preparation is absolutely key to making it all happen. And with that, this is our show for today. We are on at 12 noon every single day. We want to highlight what we can offer you as an audience member, as a competitor, as someone who is intimately interested in performing. So we have all these Carnegie Hall auditions ready for you to apply and to perform in. But also what's important is that you realize we want to give these opportunities so that you can be a part of the world stage. It's getting increasingly difficult for musicians to make it out there. There's a lot of competition, but also opportunities are not easy to come by. And so I encourage everyone to make the right connections, follow the right opportunities that will lead to more, and to really cherish and nourish the opportunities that you get given. Play your heart out, prepare like crazy, and then you might have an amazing career little bit by little bit. And I want to end, but before I end, I want to play a little clip, a little real promo clip of our upcoming season, and I really hope you enjoy it. See you in a little bit. Hey, check this out. I know you have always dreamed of performing in Carnegie Hall, so I think this 2023 to 2024 season at Sound Espressivo will be perfect for you. As a platform, we host live online auditions so you can share your music with the entire world. Then we send you to incredible in-person venues like Carnegie Hall so you can perform solo, as a duo, as an ensemble, and with orchestra. This year we have a total of 4 gala events at Carnegie Hall, as well as 4 different opportunities to perform with orchestras in the US, in the Czech Republic, and even in Egypt. We want to help you fulfill your musical dreams. Go to soundespressivocompetition.com to check out our season and to apply. Well, what are you waiting for? Like I said, you better check it out and you better apply. I really encourage you to do so. And this upcoming season would not be possible without our supporters on social media, as well as our partners from all over the world. Literally, we have people from Europe, in Egypt, we have supporters from all over the US, and we have people supporting us from all over the world. And I'm coming, I'm as an Australian, I'm coming to you from Canada. We have all these amazing people, musicians behind the scenes, who are also supporting this as well. We want to thank our partners and our supporters out there who are not only offering opportunities for musicians like yourselves, but they are also a big part of our team, our collaboration, and they don't only want to highlight themselves, they want to highlight you as a performer. So please make sure you apply. And I want to give a big hand to our team, our incredible virtual concert halls team, who puts all these shows together, from our script writers to our technical directors to our show directors and hosts, everyone who's really invested a lot of time to support us and giving us a lot of advice on how to move forward. Virtual Concert Halls is supported by amazing sponsors, but also supported by you. So make sure, if you want to contribute to our cause, let us know. And we are, as I said, on every day at 12 noon to support US musicians, tell you about us, and to give you an insight to what to expect this upcoming season. I want to give another big thanks to our team, to our sponsors, and make sure you apply by October 1st at www.soundespressivocompetition.com or progressivemusicians.com and check out our upcoming season. With that, I'll see you next time. Have a great one.
No matter where you are or who you are, music connects us all. We started with a dream, but now we are paving the future. Welcome to the Sound Espressivo Global Competition. Fully virtual, yet bringing musicians closer together than ever before, now on a global scale. True live, inclusivity, diversity, connection, community, an extraordinary array of judges. Get noticed by companies all over the world. Prizes, scholarships, performance opportunities. Apply to be a part of the most exciting congregation of artists, like nothing you've ever seen before. We guarantee quality and leave no musician behind. We can't wait to hear you on the virtual stage.